Okay. Well, I guess we're rolling. This is this is such a delightful thing. Hi, it's John. Thanks for being with me. Whoever you are, I sort of expected absolutely nobody this time because it was Memorial Day yesterday. So I think a lot of people missed the show. Or are just now getting caught up on it, haven't had the time to catch up sufficiently to comment. It looks like there's four of you out there. So hello. Uh, maybe it's inaccurate. Maybe there's thousands, but I'm just seeing four. But anyway, hi. So this week we talked with Allison Raskin, and she's the latest in a series of YouTube existers. Oh, hi, Kyler and Sherry. Latest in the series of YouTube existers, which is probably a derogative term, but they're comedians, they're diarists, they are memoirists, and we had them on because, in part, because I'm trying to reach the young people and find out what the young people like, but also in part because I'm fascinated by this new platform, and I don't want to be left behind as an old. I want to find out how it all works. So we've had Kelsey Dara, we've had Allison, we had Zach from the Try Guys on. They're all of this generation. I was just writing the newsletter that's going out and pointing out that the moment that really stood out for me in this interview was when she talks about breaking off this engagement or having the engagement being broken off to her, where she was engaged to be married. The guy dumped her. And then like being married was all she ever wanted. She considered it basically the same when she was engaged as being married since the commitment had been made. Then it's over suddenly. And then she wonders aloud in the interview, how long will it take to get over this thing? Like 3 months? And then she says, and that's what it took. It's 3 months now and I'm over it. And I was really struggling whether to leave that in because part of me just didn't believe it. I just thought, if your whole life is pinned on this idea that you'll get married and be in a committed relationship forever, 3 months seems like an awfully short time. But I'm not in her head, so I couldn't disprove that. And I couldn't really, even question it. So I left it in, but it just seemed, it's the part that I keep rolling over in my head. There's a lot in the interview about OCD as well. That's kind of the focus. I wanted to put that front and center and then put Khloe Kardashian's name in the title for the clickbait. You noticed that. Sherry noticed that too. And like more than any other persistent disorder, more than even depression, the misuse of OCD always kind of, I don't know if it rankles me, but it gets my attention because I think it's really widely used by people who don't understand the disorder part of it. They think, oh, okay, if I'm fussy, then that's OCD. Or, in the same way that people might misuse the term schizophrenic in a joke context, which I don't hear as much anymore. But OCD is still going around. So I wanted to have Allison on to kind of get to the true meaning of it. And I'm glad she was able to talk about the planning her day around when she could be home to take a shower or several showers over the course of the day, and her building anxiety about whether in the future with COVID she will have the time to do that. So I thought that was really interesting. Did a little something interesting with the show too, because I wanted to put that bit about the dogs at the top just as a teaser, even though we go back and play that exact same tape part in the interview. I thought that was interesting to kind of leave as its own standalone nugget. Like, how are they going to get around to this? So I gave it a try that way. So I like that. That was fun. And then we had videos. I found sometimes I like to play videos during the episode, like to illustrate a point that someone makes, like play the audio from a video. I mean, In this case, so many of her videos, and this is the case with YouTubers in general, I found, if it's just them talking, it sounds like the interview itself, which doesn't really, which can create some problems because then it's overlapping, and you can't really tell the difference. So sometimes I'll have Gabe put in, a little bit of strumming, a little bit of Rhett Miller sound fill around a video, but this time, that was our original plan, is to weave them into the interview, but then instead I just used them for a very long introduction. I noticed the introduction is pretty long, but it almost feels like I want to contextualize everything with an essay, not really an essay, but like a full description that I used to sort of interweave through the audio bits that I did on the old show. Looks like we're getting a little choppy on the stream here, but hopefully it's coming across. Back in the old days when I worked in public radio in Seattle, I would interview somebody and then write the introduction as I went into the interview with them. So I would kind of read this whole essay about this person to the person before letting them speak, which just got so weird and tense. Plus, sometimes the interview ends up being about something that you're not expecting. So I'm glad I don't do that anymore. So all the way up to 6. This is awesome. So coming up, we have a Bipolar 101 next week, which is Dr. Ken Duckworth from NAMI, medical director for NAMI, and Anna Marie Cox, which is always fun. She's a good friend of mine. I've collaborated with her before. I think we're most well known for an episode that we did that we ran concurrently on her podcast with Friends Like These and on Hilarious World. That was like an hour 10, use the whole thing, don't edit anything out kind of approach. So it was pretty crazy. Excuse my use of the term crazy on a mental health podcast. But we talk about her life with bipolar 2 and what that's meant. And then coming up, I think of this because she mentioned it to me, that she had heard of the work I do through the interview with Anna. And that's Kelly Williams Brown, who is the author of Easy Crafts for the Insane. And yes, part of why I wanted to do this book was I just think the title is fantastic. I ended up blurbing the book, so I'm in the press materials about it as well. And it's a really good book. It drew me in for the title, but then, London, England. Hello, Carl. But it's a really good book about her life falling apart as various things fall apart with her. Again, a marriage that crumbles, and then fracturing 3 separate limbs in 3 separate incidents right around the time that Trump gets elected. So the Trump Depression memoirs are starting to show up on our shelves and transoms now, which is fascinating. Because I think now we're in the Trump recovery phase. So those books are starting to emerge. So yeah, I'm talking with Kelly about that, and it's a book that's about crafts. It's about depression, and it's about struggling and mental health challenges, but it often uses the framework of crafts. So she talks about different crafts that she did during her period where she couldn't get off the couch or write very effectively. So then part of that is going to be, we're going to put out a bonus video. Oh, there goes Sally. Bye, Sally. Where she and I attempt a craft. And I think the craft was not supposed to look like this, but this is how mine turned out. And hers turned out to be a lot better than mine. It's a little guy or something. I did it wrong. So that's all coming up pretty soon. What else about Allison Raskin? There was something else I was meaning to say. Talked about the dogs. Talked about the showering. So that was the Allison Raskin show. I think we're going to do more with OCD. Couch shows the many scars of depression crafts. See, I have never been a crafter because I think, well, what am I going to do with this weird object when I'm done? Like now, like there's the artistry of now I have created this and this never existed before. And that's the godlike aspect of art. But now, what the hell am I going to do with this fucking thing? I just don't know. Maybe I'll turn it into a little brooch, put it on there. So that's what's going on. What else do we have coming up? Stephanie Whittle's Wax from Lemonada Media and Harris Whittle's sister. She and I have a very intense conversation about brothers and loss that it's going to be a different kind of thing. So that's coming up in 2 weeks, it looks like. And then we're just trucking along. I got some other surprises coming up, some people who are we're booking right now. And yeah, that's all coming into shape. Looking forward to a great summer. Oh, I found a tattooist for the tattoo that I'm going to get as a celebration of all the donors during the Max Fund Drive. So I'm going to Portland to do that. I'm going to Seattle to see my family, and then going to drive down to Portland and get a tattoo. And I think my 13-year-old daughter is going to live stream it. She volunteered to do that. Yeah, and Sherry talks about people joking about OCD and how Allison doesn't mind it, but knows that it's painful for some people. In fact, that reminds me, I'm looking into a story about language in discussions of mental health and in terms of disability in general, because I've been subscribing for a while to the person first approach to language, which is, it's that person is not a schizophrenic. They are a person with schizophrenia, and they're not an alcoholic. They are a person affected by alcoholism. So you feature them as a person, and then you might list things that are attributes of them. They like to wear hats. They root for the Mets. They deal with schizophrenia. But there's a movement now to kind of back off of that and kind of go the other way, where to say that, here's Bob, he's schizophrenic or a schizophrenic, is to put the disability front and center, to kind of wave it in front of people, not just to try to get some equality and get some rights, but to take a more full ownership of it. So I want to explore that. That topic is moving fast, and I want to track it as it goes without judgment, just in terms of coverage. So yeah, I wonder what y'all think of that. If you're on the Preshies group, I'm going to post an article on there about this, and I'd love to get your feedback on, if you deal with depression, how do you frame that in terms of language? Bob and I am depressed. I deal with clinical depression. I have major depressive disorder. I'm depressed, but it's a disorder. It's not just I'm feeling bummed out. What's the thought behind that? I think it's, again, I don't want to be saying in any of these cases, you do it wrong, you should do it better. But I think it gets to a sort of existential thing about mental health and about disability that needs addressing. So that's what's going on here. Would love to get more thoughts from you on the show. I'm sending the newsletter out as well. And again, if you have suggestions of people that you want us to interview, send those to depreshmode@maximumfun.org. Some of them are people that we've been trying to get and maybe haven't been successful, but go ahead and throw them out there. It doesn't hurt to hear the name Bruce Springsteen one more time, and then to talk to Gabe and say, Gabe, when are we getting Springsteen? When do we got that Springsteen thing scheduled? And then just watch Gabe worry. But no, any other names that you'd love to hear stories from, issues you want to hear covered? One that we've been hearing a lot and that Gabe's running down now is the issue of family, like how depression or how other mental illnesses affect loved ones, spouses, and partners, specifically in dealing with it, in helping with it, in drawing boundaries. So we're piecing that one together. That's coming along. Oh, okay. Here's Sean. We got a multitude of Williamses. I've said I'm a diabetic for 2 decades. I had not considered person with diabetes or with depression. I'll love to read that article once it's posted. Yeah, that's on the way. If you haven't joined Preshies, please do. The debate over the name rages, and all I can do is point that out. All right, everybody, it's 1:15. I'm going to duck out and make some more shows for y'all. See ya.